When you claim you're African, you're going to get your mind back.
If a generalized black woman is doing this and being this, that is that is irresponsible.
No,
when you claim you're African, you're going to get your mind
showing
back.
me,
Black and proud. Claim you're African, black and proud.
I think that if
when you claim you're
as a
African, you're going to
person
get your
who
mind
has
back.
a page,
What is the status of people
Claim
who
you're
have
black and proud. I'm
FBA?
telling you. When you claim you're African, you're going to get your mind back.
That's why I was laughing, because
Black and proud. Claim you're African, black and
I'm not saying the framework doesn't do a thing, but
become a part of it.
We've been
Embrace
forward
it.
to black men
Become a
being the
part of it.
masters, being
Embrace
in
it.
control. We must
Become a
have
part
our
of
own,
it.
only
Embrace it.
That those to me one of the
Become a
best
part
stories I've
of
ever
it.
heard.
Embrace it. When you claim you're
have
African, you're
mastered
going to get your mind
that
back.
mental growth takes
Black
place.
and
You've
proud.
been misled by
Black
leadership,
and
for instance,
proud.
that thinking you can consume.
When you claim you're African, you're going to get your mind back. Black and proud. Claim you're African. Black and proud. I'm telling you.
peace and power. Dr. DAW back in the building, family. Yeah. Special guest, family. It's this Wednesday. Conversations with Dr. DAW. Family, make sure we get the peoples up in the building. Make sure you share, you subscribe, you like. But anyway, first and foremost, first order is to help us get some people in the building as we have this conversation here today with my dear brother, who I'll introduce to you momentarily. We got a conversation I've been, trying to figure out how to best frame it with my dear brother, who I've done great work with in the Baltimore community for years. And it's very interesting with this whole FBA / ADOS. Matter of fact, he and I have talked about these things over the years, especially as ADOS has come out. You know what I mean? So I'm not new to this. As he taught me, I'm true to this. And that's actual facts. I can quote him. So I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. And what I mean by that is I've been seeing this problem before it even became what we currently see. I've been talking about this problem when Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore first kicked off. I've been talking about this problem in our community. I've been trying to warn us, put the Batman signal out there. Look, y'all, look what's happening. Don't get caught up. But again, family, as you come in the building, please share, like, and subscribe. Also, introduce yourself in the chat. Mr. K, what it is, man. Mr. K from the UK. Peace to you, Pan-African Library. Yeah, we're going to get on some things. Somebody says, before we even get started, so let me pose the question. Today's topic is, can someone with Jamaican parents serve Black America? I was trying to figure out how to best, entitle this show today. But again, can someone with Jamaican lineage, parentage, forefathers and foremothers who reside in America serve Black America? And we know what Tariq Nasheed says. We know what the FBA ideology says. But I got my dear brother in the building, Montu Abra, who I want to have this chit chat with. And I also want to know what he doing. I mean, I want to know what he doing out here in these streets. If he doing anything, is he a tether? I don't know. I don't even know what his background is. We're going to talk about that today. I got my tether lover downstairs, her, my wife, But nonetheless, we know who the real tethers are. As I learned, FBA is the tethers to white supremacists, white supremacist ideology. They don't even want them here. You know what I mean? They don't want them here, but they're the tethers. FBA are the tethers. They mock, imitate, immolate, and do their goddamn best to be white supremacists and blackface. So family, let's get the views up, get the shares up, share it, like it, and subscribe. So nonetheless, one more time before I engage with my dear brother, can someone with Jamaican parents serve Black America? A Pan-African response to FBA, Dr. DAW and Montu, brother Montu Abra.
That's right.
So, brother Montu,
Peace, peace, peace.
how you doing, man?
I'm wonderful, man. Appreciate you for having me. Just want to say thank you for the invite, and I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to have the conversation. You know,
I appreciate you accepting the invitation. Because these conversations aren't always, everybody don't want to have these conversations,
but they need it.
You said we need them?
Absolutely, absolutely, without a doubt.
Yeah. So what I typically do is, instead of reading a bio, I say what I see, what I've experienced in my experience in short words, before I ask you to tell the people a little bit about yourself and why you are essential to the conversation. I like to say Montu Abra, this dear brother, is one of the most committed to whatever cause he believes in at the time, brothers. What I mean is one of the most dedicated people I know. I don't even know if he goes to sleep all the time. But he will. I don't care how big the barriers are. He will climb over top of them. Sure. If he sees something on the other side that's worthwhile for him and our people, him and his family, him and our community. So, brother, please introduce yourself to the people and tell them why you are essential to this conversation. That's just saying, tell them a little bit about yourself.
A little bit about me.
Or a lot of bit, because we're going to chop it up.
Well, where do I start? I mean, there's a lot I can say. I'm a father. I'm a son. I'm a husband. I am a first generation American, if you will, a first generation African in America, if you will. I am a community member. I'm terrible in introducing myself in bios, but I have a plethora of experience with dealing in the community. Was once a menace to my community, and I have weathered the storm as much as our brothers do. Due to the plight of a lot of the things that we see and fall victim to in our community. So I'm just a man of substance, here to really speak on what I see going on in the community in reference to a lot of this division that is taking place amongst our people, which I think really needs clarity on. I really think that having some level of clarity and a clear analysis of what's going on can really help our people with what we're struggling with at this time, and a lot of that is identity crisis.
Yeah, it's one thing you said that I mean, before we go further, I heard you introduce yourself as an African in America. And you said, I don't have the fancy words, but if you say or something like that. Well, can you tell me more about that?
In terms of what? In terms of being
because you called yourself, and I kind of,
American, if you will.
First generation African American, if you will. Right. Yes. Right. Tell me more about that.
Well, when I say that, I just mean that, my family, of course, I have Jamaican roots. My mother and my father were born in Jamaica, Kingston, and St. Elizabeth, to be more accurate. And they migrated in the early 1970s, 1980s, and that is when I was conceived.
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I'm tied to that because there's culture, there's history, there's everything that I endured and I experienced
Mm-hmm.
was in my home for the most part,
Mm-hmm.
and so just elaborating on that in and of itself, I am a first generation here on this soil,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so with that, that comes with a lot of different cultural understandings, orientations, and just understanding that I'm African first, by way of descendants, my lineage in terms of you know the transatlantic slave trade, and being amongst those that came from Africa to Jamaica, and ultimately settled there, right? Doing that Ma'afa, if you will. But again, I definitely consider myself a African in America, meaning my roots descend from Africa, African soil. So yeah, so that's how I see it, and even to think about what that looks like in terms of um, what we call some of the uprisings that took place in you know Jamaica. Um, a lot of them was rooted in Africans being accustomed to the soil and what the environment, if you will, and with that gave them some level of advantage. And so with that, I definitely consider myself
Okay. Yeah.
African.
I don't know if you trying to if you just like, bro, you doing multiple things, man. You're like
No,
like
I'm
are
trying
you
to keep
still
it going.
rocking and rolling?
I'm
Okay,
trying
yeah,
to keep it
yeah.
going
So
because I
part for
see.
me, thank you. I think somebody said there's a high pitched noise going
Oh,
on,
okay, okay.
and I'm trying to figure it out because I know how disturbing that could be, and I can hear it. One, two, three. I'm trying to get this sound, family. How's it sounding?
The same mentality.
Uh,
I was reading one of the.
yeah. Can't.
Okay, the noise still there.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the mic. Maybe I moved the mic too close or something.
You sound. Hold on. Go ahead, brother Montu.
Okay. All right.
I think. No, it's horrible. Let. Hold on one second. Okay. I think it might be better now, but it might be your mic. No, no, no. Yeah, is it better, y'all? I think it's better. I think it might be his mic. I might have to do something with his mic. Yeah, yeah. So it's your mic. Let me figure something out real quick. All right, so let me they don't hear it because your mic is off. Let me see. Both on mute. Go ahead, Monty. I'm sorry.
Hello. 1 2 1 2. Hello. Hello. 1 2 1 2.
All right, let me do this. I think it's your mic. So
Yeah,
I'm
that's fine.
gonna it's not you, it's my mic. So let me try something out real quick. Try that. Make sure everything's connected. Oh, you know what it could be? I'm gonna tell you what it probably is. It's probably touching some other electrical thing. That's probably exactly what it is. It's probably, you know what? this right here. That's probably what it is. Yeah, that's probably what it is. Let's see if that helps. Hopefully it helps. You know what? I'm gonna do this. Miss, pardon y'all. We coming. We coming. We coming. That's it.
It went out. TV went out. It's black right now. Oh, there you go. There you go. All right.
I think that should fix it.
Hello. Now it's
family. We are back. Let me know if we sound better, but I think that probably should do it. Go give me.
hello. Can you hear me? Is that clear? Come across clear? Perfect. Somebody said perfect.
You good.
Okay, good.
All right, my bad. All right. So now, okay. All right. Okay. So you were saying that basically your family comes from Jamaica.
100%.
But you have this understanding, and I appreciate everybody's time and working with me, including the guests in the studio today. That you come from Jamaica, your family via Jamaica, your family migrated here, and you grew up here. Were you born in Jamaica, or were you born here?
I was born here.
You was born here.
Born here.
Now tell me if you could, like, because one thing I often hear in FBA spaces is that they don't live with us. You know what I mean? They don't live with us. They don't live in our neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm.
They don't like us.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have the same culture. I mean, like all types of things. Like they don't even live with us. Like what do you say when you hear that? They don't live with us.
It's the more divisive rhetoric, right? More divisive rhetoric that is meant and intended to, again, separate. I grew up in the hood. I grew up in all hoods, like, all in East Baltimore, West Baltimore. We moved a lot, but, we definitely grew up amongst Black people and loved them and treat them no different, right? My mother cooked for the neighborhood. I got homeboys that when they came over our house, they knew they was getting rice and beans, and that's all they was getting, rice and beans with some, oxtail and some curry goat, So, I really don't see that commonly where there's division, in terms of Jamaican being a cultural thing where Jamaicans don't like Americans. I never experienced that, not in my experience at all. So no, I haven't. I had the slightest idea what they mean when they say they don't like us. We don't, again, all I can really convey is that that's more divisive rhetoric, right? And, towards pushing an agenda, right? That's pushing an agenda. And what agenda does that benefit? And what agenda is that pushing? And what does that bring about? Who benefits from that? Right? So at the end of the day, what is the division leading to? That's my question.
Yeah, and I appreciate that because we get it together up in here today. We get it together, all right? So so that's been my experience, brother Montu. And I often say, my dear brother, like I remember us kind of like working and studying and reading and doing all these type of things. Then one day you was like, yo, like, I just realized, like, and you could correct me how you said it more specifically. It was like, I realized I got, like, my family, like, they came from Jamaica.
Absolutely.
And when I heard that,
Right.
I didn't really like. It didn't deter. It was like it was almost like groundbreaking to you. Like, hold up. Now you might like we're so connected that I didn't even think like Harriet Tubman might not been like they might Harriet Tubman's my people,
Right.
but I don't see no difference between me and you. I don't see no difference. That's what I heard. Let me just say that.
Right.
That's kind of how it came off to me. But it's like, hold up, but let me do a little bit more. Let me even dig into what's going on in Jamaica.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Look at what's going on in Jamaica and so on and so forth. Not to say I'm delineating and all this type of thing. It was like, hold up, though.
Right.
I grew up here.
Right.
Because part of the thing is, Brother Montu, they say, well, they tell them not to hang with us. They tell them that we're not the same. Right. And I'm looking at you like, first of all, I'm like, look, if you ever ask me a question, I'm like, no, that dude more Baltimore than I am. So it's baffling me. But I know so many Jamaicans, even like in our neighborhoods. Like, for example, when I talk to Montu, like, like we talked about Jamaicans like we two American black people talked about Jamaicans like, even though his mother's Jamaican. And it's like, but we talking about Jamaican Chris and Jamaican this and Jamaican that, but they was all a part of our community. What do you say to that?
Right. Well, first and foremost, what actually brought across that conversation was, I think we were looking to do some level of deep dive into our lineage.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
We were looking to do some level of the census. We had to go on the census and see where our people was from, right? To kind of get more of an in-depth part of, where our ancestors came from here in the States, right? And so at that time, I was like, hold up. Well, if I had to do that, I got to do the census in Jamaica, because it had hit me at that moment that, yes, I am a first generation African in America, right? So my lineage doesn't stem from here, but yeah, absolutely. So in terms of coming to that realization, it was just more of just having that understanding that, wow, even if I wanted to do the research, my research would start in Jamaica.
Right.
But there was no separation. There was no level of distance. There's no level of disdain, because again, outside of, America, like what do you where do you get your understanding from? Where does your worldview come from? Right. So even when you think about, how we may be misoriented to, or, there's some level of misorientation, right? When you're even dealing with individuals in the society, when we dealing with individuals in society and we see a sickness going on, and we see that certain people have a more or less a Eurocentric mindset, right? What do we have to compare that to, right? Where would that stem from? Even when we mention the word black, I'm a foundation in Black America. Where does the black come from? Where does the black in and of itself? What does it deprive of? What does it derive of? Right. So if you go back millennia, we didn't call ourselves black. We identified by a region in which we were located. Right. We identified by those things. So even when we talking about, to some extent, our ancestral heritage, I'm a foundational Black American. I'm like, what does that even mean? Really, like, what does that mean? What does black mean? How do you define black? As we once had a great conversation of how you even define black.
Yeah, absolutely. I everybody was fighting me about that conversation. Like I said, so what is black? How do you define black? And can you just claim everybody's being black? But now I see some people in the chat saying
what
some
they
things.
What they in the chat?
And guess what? The ones who making all the noise, they're the Caribbeans.
They said what?
Yeah, they saying you went, with all due respect,
he
dog,
ain't Jamaican.
he's in first generation. He has lived in Jamaica. Has he lived in Jamaica? Well, Brother Bawana, did you read? Hold up, Bawana, did you read the show before you got on? Hold on. Can someone with Jamaican parents serve Black America?
Absolutely.
A Pan-African response to FBA and Dr. DAW. And I see you, KP, in the back, my other Caribbean brother. Look, the Caribbeans like, hold up now. Hold up now.
They try to check my Caribbean card.
Huh? They try to check my
Jamaican card.
And hold on. They trying to check your Caribbean card, but guess what? Bawana can't look. I mean, KP. Look. Bawana's in the Bahamas, so hold up, Bawana. We might have to come for you. But then you got KP up in the back, but he from everywhere, so I don't know how much checking he can do. But hold on. But anyway, I do want to say this though. So with that, I did want to make my point is that you felt so connected to the community.
Absolutely.
My other point is when we've done work over so many years. Absolutely. And now my wife's Jamaican, right?
Absolutely.
But it's almost like, well, like we never all of us never treat each other like, oh, we these different people. We know that. Okay, you got something to say to that?
No, I'm listening. Go ahead.
Like the other part is, I think is essential to have the conversation with you. Why? They're saying, well, with all due respect, he's first generation. Yeah, that's the reason I'm having the conversation. Because the accusations are by people are saying that first generation people are taught they're not, first of all, their parents don't live in our communities. Secondly, they don't connect with our communities. Thirdly, their parents tell them to stay away from everybody.
False.
Fourthly, I know my dear brother's mama personally. And she asked me, with all due respect, I was honored to offer up prayer at her retirement party. I know some reason she likes me, you know what I mean?
Right.
But you said right, she still like
yes,
Mama Jessica, you still like me?
Yes.
So look,
you're part of the family now.
Part of the family. Look, his children. Say it again.
Can't get rid of you. Part of the family.
Can't get rid of me. You dig what I'm saying? But you got anything to say to that?
I mean, in terms of just the understanding that, I think it's deep, and I think it's the consciousness, right? A lot of people may be in the audience or, chiming in, saying that, hey, he's a first generation American. And okay, let's say that's true. But what was installed in me, right? I think that is the more the bigger question.
Yeah.
What was implanted in me, right? So if we're saying if the controversy is, well, what do we benefit from them? They come here and they take this and they take that. How do they benefit? Okay. Now, how do we benefit, right? It's meaning in so many words that they're taken from us, right? One meaning is that's definitely a mind of scarcity, right? It's not enough. So the mindset is already scarce. It's not enough. So they're taken from what we already have, which is already an oppressive mindset that does not, in any way determine how far we can go if you're already in an oppressive and a scarcity mindset, right? So that's one in terms of the mindset. What did they place in me in terms of them being able to rear me to where I'm doing for my community, right? I'm in a position where I'm now in a position where I'm also assisting and helping my community for under the, a lot of the atrocities that were done to us. So that conversation, I think, is one again of divisiveness. It really holds no weight. And again, what do you connect to? What do you connect to outside of being a Black American? Where's the connection? Right? That's a very, very scarce population of people. If you delineate yourself from everyone and you're just here in America, Marcus Garvey said it himself. He said, why put yourself, why be on an island when you can have a whole continent? Why limit yourself to an island when you can be a part of a mass continent? And not seeing the bigger picture. Not seeing, is it through the divisiveness that has been implanted. And again, that's part of the program, man. That's part of the program to try to divide and conquer.
I appreciate that. And I've heard you say that quite a few times over the years. I would never give up a continent for an island or something like that, right? And it goes back to this other idea that I hear that Jamaicans and Caribbeans, only African Americans practice Pan-Africanism. Have you heard about that? Only Pan-Africanism is an American construct, exclusive. It's only African Americans who benefit, who actually are participating. People from around the world, like Africans and so on and so forth. And even when they come to our communities, they don't do any work in our communities, right? I really want you to like talk about that a bit, and maybe tie back to some of the things you do, and basically like, and even people you know, even your mother, whoever, right? Because I know, look, I mean, whatever you know, whatever, just whatever you got.
Right. So the question was, do Americans, only African Americans or Africans in America, they're the only ones that contribute to Pan-Africanism?
Yeah.
And again, I think I'm an example of that not being true. If you consider me an American or not, but you know, again, by way of virtue of my lineage, I just can't be relished to an American, you know, because of the fact that I come from two Caribbean parents who very much so was very cultural in my upbringing. My upbringing was very cultural. We had goats in the fridge, you know, goat heads in the fridge. We had, you know, let me hold on, give me 1 second. Yeah, so with that being said, that again, I'm gonna live an example of that. I also have brothers. I got another brother in Cali, a good brother of mine, named brother. Damn, don't tell me he's gonna slip me right now. A good brother of mine doing a lot of great work. Who we share the same identity. We share the same story, right? Being first generation Africans in America, is doing great work in the community. You know, with youth and with, you know, different sectors of people in reference to domestic violence. Myself, I currently have a outpatient mental health program where we help individuals suffering with mental health. Also have a recovery program in which we help individuals that also recovering from drug and alcohol abuse. We also have a reentry population dealing with the reentry individuals who we specify the on Black males. Right, we particularly work with Black males that have been incarcerated, that may suffer from institutionalization, and also suffer from cultural misappropriation. And so, what that means is we have been programmed to actually operate in a culture outside of our own, and that culture we've been operating is a Eurocentric culture, which ultimately causes our demise in so many ways, shape, forms, and fashions. And so, you know, with that, we have a program we're just launching right now, also targeting the youth that are currently in DJS, with those same cultural orientations, you know, and bringing the culture into it, because a lot of times what we're suffering from, which I also think FBA is suffering from, as becoming a sub-oppressor in terms of just Eurocentric thought patterns in terms of how they identify, how they see the world. Mm-hmm. Right, they only see in the world through one lens, and that one lens is a very scarce lens, the same lens Europeans seeing the world through. Mm-hmm. Whether it be scarcity, whether it be not enough, so we have to cut these individuals off so we can get all the reparations for ourselves because we deserve it. And I'm listen, the reparations argument is not an argument that I truly think is one that I'm interested in terms of who gets those reparations. Understandably so, right? But again, you are fighting for what you would call pennies. You're fighting for crumbs, and those same crumbs that you are fighting for, they look to control you with those crumbs as well. Mm-hmm. So they control your ideology, they control your agenda. So a lot of that, ultimately, I think it just boils down to a Eurocentric mind frame in which individuals still are looking for something from the white man to help us in some way, shape, form, or fashion. And I think that's problematic.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I did a broadcast not too long ago, because you gotta be careful with that, brother. Hold on, as brother Everett tell me that I'm on his show. He'd be like, hold up, brother. Everett be like, hold up. Everett be like, hold up, Doc. He said,
we need those, huh?
you know, brother Everett.
Yeah, absolutely.
He'd be like, hold up, Doc. Hold up. Don't get in trouble now. So I recently did a show speaking to what I call pseudo African-centered paradigms, pseudo metaphysical African-centered paradigms. And there was the brother Rich who has a platform, and I guess he's from New York, I think, and I guess he's considered himself now foundational.
Mm-hmm.
But on his platform, he platforms pretending. I mean, black people who say they're Indians, who said, I mean, not that they have some level of a native in their family through the lineage or blood or anything like that. No, they are a people who are always here.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I uncovered is I did more research on Brother Rich's platform because I saw him respond to a sister. I think she might have been, I can't remember if she was from Jamaica or another Caribbean island. And she said, I think she was first generation as well. First generation. And she said, well, we like we know our power and we shouldn't, in other words, it was almost like she was saying something very similar. Like we shouldn't get caught up and depending on white people for reparations and so on and so forth, and so forth and so on. And he turned to her and he said, well, sister, who is we? He said, how could you come to my country? He says, what would it be? How could you come to my country and tell me anything about reparations? And he also said to her, what it'd be like my son, if we went to Jamaica and told the people there, don't get caught up on CARICOM, what's going on in reparations there. Which I honestly would argue is not necessarily a fair argument.
Mm-hmm.
And CARICOM operates much differently than what they're talking about here. In fact, it's more organized from the little research I know. And the other little research I know that if I moved there, I would also benefit, which is very different.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, that we that you talk about though, you're like, so why, we shouldn't get caught up on that thing. And he was like, he kept asking her like, who is we? But the problem there though is this. They argue that we're not we.
Right.
Oh, Caribbeans say they're not we.
Right.
They're children. They're taught not to chill with us. We're not we.
Right.
Like, what do you mean? And then when they say we,
right,
then there's a problem.
They are the ones that are differentiating the we.
Yes.
Right.
Especially now, since the invention of ADOS and the FBA. You got people who call themselves African-centered, pseudo nonetheless, who are now saying, who are the we? This woman has grown up. I don't know if it's from Baltimore, because she said she took a trip to Baltimore and she was in Florida, right? But she said, I just returned back from Baltimore. I saw the conditions there and things like that where we need to really fight. But we shouldn't get caught up with we should know our own power.
Right.
And that's what she was saying.
Right.
But she said, no, he's saying you can't talk to that. In other words, we until you talk about reparations.
Right.
In other words,
right.
Even a video I just did yesterday, it was about this brother. I don't know. I call him the new rising FBA freedman guy. His name is Daniel.
Okay.
And FBAs are famous for saying that we don't look alike. And I just pulled the clip out and said, bro, you straight from West Africa, brother. You definitely you definitely West African, brother. I mean, I don't know what you're talking about. They make mockery and character. I can't do it. It's too late, y'all. I can't do it today. They make characters of people from the continent and from the Caribbean island. They make caricatures. I got it out. Right. They make caricatures out of our family members on the continent they take their hairlines back further and they do things like that, and they try to exaggerate, you know, just phenotypical features to a degree to say that ain't us. We don't look like them, which is a lie. First and foremost, Africa has the most phenotypes in the world on its continent.
Facts.
But going back to what I'm really trying to say, this brother was saying that basically Caribbeans decided to delineate first. And what he meant by that, he says they delineate when they go and win an award or they go and win a prize. And then they say, I want to thank Jamaica. I want to thank Trinidad and Tobago.
Right.
I want to thank, Haiti, we here. Oh.
Right.
So now to him, we was all together. We were all together now.
Right.
Until you won that award. And now you delineated first. And we're tired of that. What do you say to that?
Well, that's I don't know if that's like, you know, any different than really claiming your hood, claiming where you're from, right? That doesn't mean that I'm still not black. That doesn't mean that I'm still not part of, you know, the African ethos. I don't think that is you stating that you aren't part of the grander African diaspora. That's just pretty much saying I'm repping this part of the diaspora, right? Because did she ever say that I'm not? Did they ever go on and say, well, this is only I'm only representing that? No, it's not even what you think. You are clumped into clusters, even from a social economic or a social standpoint. You are clumped into a cluster, whether you like it or not, whether you believe it or not. You are, as they are groups. So there's groups that are devising how we are grouped. And so when we understand that whatever I think I am personally does not exclude me from being thrown into this larger cluster of a group, right? And I wish I had the actual technology or technical term to place it under, but my brain is fogging right now. But you are still a part of a greater group. And so when you're a part of that greater group, you just representing the part or the tribe or the village that you come from does not mean that I'm not a part of the whole. And so that's what would be my rebuttal to that statement in terms of, you know, they delineate there. They're not delineating. They're just representing their hood, if you will. They're representing their country, if you will. But that doesn't mean that I'm not part of the greater African diaspora. Where did he do that at? Like, where does that make sense?
So, more about your work. So, I was kind of trying to fix some things in here. So, pardon me if I miss anything problem. And I ask you it again.
No problem.
If you already answered, you don't have to answer again.
Okay.
I do want to know more about your work. And KP, like he wants to talk to you. You okay with that?
Let's bring KP in.
That's my main man. So KP the scholar, okay? We're gonna bring KP in, and I do want to hear more about your work in the community. And do you discriminate against who gets your services? Brother KP, what it is, man?
Oh yeah. What's up, Doc and brother
Montu.
What's going on, brother KP? How you feeling?
Respect you, man. Hey, nothing. I'm on the same team, bro. I'm a first generation
everything
American citizen as well.
Okay.
But the difference being that I was born in the Caribbean, right?
Okay.
So one of the things that is consistently, and please tell me if you agree or disagree. One of the problems with the FBA critique is that it relies on this singular, narrow nationalism. Jamaicans, Bahamians, anything that's not born in the United States, and they put everybody all in the same pot as being negative or antagonistic to them. And I think one of the reasons why is that, you know, after 1965, when the U.S. government had to go away from race-based immigration policy, right?
Mhm.
For many reasons, mostly economic, folks like us and our parents from the Caribbean came into the United States with the
Mhm.
goal in mind of getting at the bag, getting the dollar, getting a job, or getting businesses going and making money.
Advancing
And
ourselves, right?
right. And so this kind of happened at a point in the ongoing economic, political, social assault on Black people generally in the country, right? And so
Mhm.
some of the actions of our parents and our families was seen by some as antagonistic towards them, right? Even though the stats show that we live in the same neighborhoods, we intermarry, we support the politics of Black America. We largely have historically been a bulwark, right? In addition to African American fight against white supremacy and for justice in this land, right? So,
Right.
yeah. I mean, uh, to what degree do you think class has played in this antagonism? Because as a Jamaican, you probably know uptown Jamaicans, Chinese Jamaicans, right? Not all Jamaicans come with the same level of, you know, um, black nationalism or black outlook. They're different kinds of, them uptown Jamaicans. I could see how the FBA critique of Jamaicans might apply to some of them because they do the same things in Jamaica as far as being anti-black,
Mhm.
but that's a small minority of the overall Jamaican migration into the United States, which has come in at a certain class level that is synchronated right there with the majority of Black America. You know what I'm saying? This is not to say that all Black America was working class either, because we all know about Du Bois and the Talented Ten and the Black elite been around for long. So I'd like you, to hear what you had to say about that, about the question of class in Jamaican immigrants and how it may, how after 1965, that may have played a role in this beef, in this so-called beef.
So your question is, how did, just so I can answer it, as best as I can. You're saying, how did what was the result, or did this also play a part into how FBA feels about how they look at Jamaicans in a whole? Is he still there, or is he? You got
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
well, now, just to be quite transparent, I probably can't speak on that too in depth. But what I can say in reference to that is, it's still some level of a thought process that is Eurocentric at its core. Um, you know, Even those individuals who don't understand or don't see the need, I think they are also being, in some way, shape, or form, they're under a different worldview. And that worldview, really shapes your actions and your behaviors, and how you even look at the world. So even if, let's say, that is the common thread that FBA is using to justify some of their thoughts and some of their beliefs, I think that, with Tariq being the head, if you will, of that organization, with having some knowledge, I think that, it ultimately boils down to what, I think, I know I heard Dr. His name slips me at this moment, but it boils down to some level of game theory, where you have individuals that,
H.G. Hill.
Yeah, H.G. Hill. Yeah, thank you, Dr. H.G. Hill did. Boil down to game theory. And game theory is nonetheless of having the understanding that there's a puppet master in play and there's levels to the game. And I think that, you know, while some may not understand that, you know, the game that's being played, the individuals such as the Tariq Nasheed may understand to some extent the divisiveness that it causes. And to some extent, it also, I would not be surprised to see how he benefits from that division. So hopefully that answers your question.
No, it does, and I'm right there with you because you know, like I mentioned, I guess in my long-winded question was that you know, the statistics show that the Black diaspora.
Mm-hmm.
You still there, bro? Brother KP, you there? It sound like you dropped off there, brother. You know, I think that's an interesting question. One thing that KP often does is try to really be kind of like fair that from his framework that as a first generation Caribbean person, that some of these, I mean, well, these ideas do exist. The tension does exist. The how people talk about one another does exist, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree.
Now the thing is, though, I mean, I think that is something that we talk about because it does exist, but simultaneously we talk about that is not the majority of a way that we, just like FBA. At some point, people from the Caribbean and other places would think that all Black Americans or African Americans actually, if they're not able to see the nuance, will believe that this is the dominant and predominant thought process of most African Americans or most Africans born in America with chattel with lineage that traces back through chattel slavery or what have you on this particular continent. But he speaks to this class element, which I think is essential. Now, it could be also locale, like I know. Go ahead.
No, I mean, but even when you think about class, and I hope you don't lose your thought, but even when you think about class, you're still thinking about, you know, some level of Eurocentric thought, right?
Absolutely.
You're still thinking about Eurocentric thought because there's a level of materialism that, you know, essentially gives one more meaning than the other. When again, that ultimately takes us away from the materialism, takes away and rips away the connection in terms of what, you know, Dr. Good Lord.
A.C.G. Hillard?
No, not that A.C.G. Hillard. Now I'm thinking about Dr. Let the Circle Be Unbroken. Dr. Marimba Ani also speaks about, right? She speaks about how, in essence, we tend to lose our souls and we tend to trade that for materialism, right? We tend to use that's a trade-off. Right. You have to, you're now trading the materialism from the socialism, and not in a way that, you know, we think we have to be, you know, kumbaya and all live together, but in some essence, there's a trade-off. So even when you're thinking about the materialism and the classism, that's also stemming from a Eurocentric thought pattern that says I'm better than you because I'm doing better than you. I'm financially better than you. So I'm in a higher class. So I'm in a higher class. Therefore, you are lower. You are a peasant. And so again, all I'm saying is breaking it down to the most simplistic form I could break it down to is really derives from worldview. And the individuals that we're speaking about have been misorientated to a Eurocentric worldview that has them believing that to earn more gives me more. And even in this country, we understand that no matter how much you earn, you're still not seen as equal. And so if you're buying into that concept, again, this is to divide and conquer. This doesn't benefit us to that extent. And I'll leave it there.
Yeah, so are you saying that basically from your standpoint, even those Caribbeans that come into the country with those with those ideas, they have been miseducated.
Yes.
And brought
Absolutely.
into this idea of class, and that they are better, which is no different than other people who are miseducated in other ways.
Yeah, absolutely. The same way, white flight will take place, right? The same way white flight would take place because I'm better based on the level of stature that I have, in comparison to black people.
Mhm.
There's no different when you become of a certain class.
Mhm.
Now you think you're better than other black people.
Right.
It's still the same concept at the end of the day.
Mhm.
The materialism that led to capitalism that leads to ultimately the deterioration of people, of the soul, of
Mhm.
all that substance that we really have outside of our wealth.
I appreciate that. And one of the things though that why I want to have different conversations though, and I appreciate that element being brought in as far as this class element, because a lot of people, in all reality, I promise you, there's so many there's friends you had in school, high school, that may have never come to your house, may have never eaten your mother beans and rice and peas, and they probably don't even know you have Jamaican parentage, unless you told them or something.
Right.
Like people that you deal with every day,
Right.
they don't know your story, right?
Right.
So it's then when you tell them, then if they got the FBA bug, they'll switch or flick like a light switch. You know what I mean? You're not one of us. You know what I mean? Like if y'all hear him, his doing too stronger than mine. I mean, like, is it like what I'm saying is like culture is not. So to me, I'm gonna tell you where I struggle with this idea, and I don't like you saying, like not trying to get caught up in European concepts, ideas, because we make these things real. Like literally, like I keep trying to tell people, so like Jamaica is closer to Florida than it is to California, but these Eurocentric, these colonial borders that they carved out, we begin to buy into them and think that we're literally these different people.
Absolutely.
And like, so somehow when I come here, there's a detector that I'm supposed to see and know that you like your parents are Jamaican. No, they would not know until you told them.
Right.
Go ahead, you about to say something.
No, I'm listening. You on point.
So with that whole class piece though, where I kind of also struggle is, no, not that I struggle. It's like, okay, those examples do exist, but I live in Baltimore. And to say that that they don't live in our neighborhoods, that's the stuff I want to deal with too. Because like, I mean, if y'all, even Brother Montu and I went to school together. You know what I mean? Me and Montu actually lived in the same neighborhood.
Absolutely.
Now he lived on the upper class. No,
we had a single family home.
I don't know, Brother KP.
We had a single family house, but we was in the hood, Brother KP. And I think that I think that what he was saying was, again, I appreciate his point as well, is because as you mentioned, it is real and we do make it manifest. But I think that's the job of the conscious, right? The job of the conscious is to again press upon the unconscious to some extent, right? So even in that realm, it's like, and everybody ain't gonna make it. we know this. We've been taught this. We understand that everybody not gonna make it. But again, I think the deeper reality is that we strive to continue to teach it, continue to educate those individuals. And again, part of my ministry, if you will, is teaching this to the men that's incarcerated and returning home from incarceration. We work with Dr. Max T. Ragland, who's a licensed clinical professional counselor. He's also has his doctorate in education, and he has a curriculum that we work with specifically to, again, confidently approach young Black men and with clinicians as well to properly reorientate them to that culture to some extent, right? To properly allow them to give not even a diagnosis, but give some level of I'm gonna say understanding to what they may be dealing with, right? As they have to deal with the racism, the social economic issues, the barriers that we face after incarceration, right? The invisible walls, the invisible bars that's still on us from being locked out of employment, from locked out of housing, from locked out of, even getting certain sectors of financial aid, right? So these are some of the serious barriers that me as a what you call a born Jamaican, born Jamaican, face in terms of, and I face myself in terms of, helping our community, right? And so that's the bigger picture for me. That's the bigger point that I want to make, is that, even in this chaos, even in this, murky waters, there is an understanding that my job and the job that I have inherited is to make my community better than it was, given to me. And
yeah,
so,
can I interject here?
Yeah.
Sorry. I didn't mean
Go ahead, you
to
got
cut you, brother.
Oh, you got
All
it.
right, my
Sure.
bad. Yeah, I mean, I think it's clear to all the listeners that you are you are doing what you can through your own personal efforts to help people in general, Black people first and foremost,
Specifically,
and those who are in need, right? And what I'm saying is that example is actually the historical reality of Black immigrants' experience in the United States in the last century, right? I mean, we don't have to look at just a Marcus Garvey, right, or any of the other well-known names to make that point, right? In fact, their histories like but Winston James, a historian, has written about how Black immigrants from the Caribbean were disproportionately radical on the question of white supremacy and things of that nature, right? So I'll say, just carry on, brother. I don't really have any further questions other than to say, continue doing what you're doing. And, I think your example speaks directly against the stereotype or the image that FBA wants to project about Black immigrants or people who have ancestral ties to Black immigrants. This brother here is an example of the reality of Black immigrants who become African Americans. And I don't want to use the word assimilation because it has some negative connotations, but then not just become African Americans, but then who work for the betterment of our communities. And that is the reality. That what they're projecting is not. That's the ahistorical example. And I'll just leave it there. So props to you, bro.
Honestly. Appreciate you. Just right back to you.
Yeah. Appreciate that, brother KP. Yeah. I was thinking as you were talking that we decide on the lines that cause our divide. We decide on what lines divide us. Like we literally and we don't really realize that's why African-centered understanding is so essential. To name for yourself, to define for yourself, to do people think that a cultural or a race first analysis or a African-centered analysis is not essential. I promise you, when we lack that, anything can divide us.
Ashe.
So quite like you can be as close to a part of the United States and be Black and actually have cousins or family members that you don't even know historically may be in the United States, right?
Right.
Because as KP often talks about, and KP, you're still there, you can talk about how it wasn't this clear process of us coming to, you about to say something. It wasn't this clear direct shoot from the African continent to America. And there wasn't any even transporting back and forth between the islands and the mainland and stuff like that. But we allow we allow Europeans to define the lines of our divide.
Absolutely.
When you empower yourself,
Mm-hmm.
you decide what you divide on.
Absolutely.
They are just participating, FBA, ADOS, whoever else with their fangled ideas of being pretendians, they have allowed Europeans to decide what splits them.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, again, I keep arguing. If you don't have a race first, if you don't have an African Senate or some analysis that is similar, everything will divide you, whether that be gender, whether that be your ethnicity, whether that be, I mean, when I mean ethnicity or nationality, or you were, a person who came through this form of slavery in the Caribbean versus this form of slavery in the Americas, or what have you, will go with the system that they created.
Absolutely.
To separate you. Well, we were enslaved in America, and they were enslaved in Jamaica.
Our slavery was different.
Our slavery was different. It was more brutal. It was this, it was that. It was, whatever it is. I mean, there's a lot of mythology, but
Right.
At the end of the day, even if it's different, we even use that to substantiate our divide. Because just like everybody, people, when we are struggling with identity or confidence, what we tend to do is try to find something to make us better.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's classism, as KP was just talking about,
Yep.
or it's a person smoking crack who said, look, you didn't know how to smoke that. Or a person said, well, look, you ain't never really do that. Or like, nah, I only do crack on the weekends. I mean, I talk to people. And you ain't at work, but go ahead.
It's a divide. It's a clear divide. Even when you think about, even in recovery, I mean, even if you're talking about racism, right? We done had individuals that even come to the program and think that they have privilege because of their complexion. We had individuals that also say that, listen, I shot dope. I ain't smoke crack. Y'all junkies, right? Like even down to the level of type of drug you abused. And the commonality is you are in this program.
Yeah.
Regardless of what you use, regardless of how you got here, you find yourself in the same program, and it's the same exact thing around the world. Regardless of where you are, you are in this category, and you cannot get yourself out of this category. And the only way we can get out of the only way we can triumph throughout this thing is we work together. It's no difference, right? Even to the point, right? There is some level of ignorance too. I had a brother. I just see my cousin who was born in Jamaica. See, my cousin was born in Jamaica, and he got here when he was a little younger. But again, this is my blood cousin. You can't tell us you can't tell us apart. You understand what I'm saying? So we thick as thieves. So he was having a conversation. He was explaining to me how he was having a conversation with his girl at the time, and how she was telling him that he was not black, he was Jamaican. And he was mind blown at the fact that she was saying that he was not, she was causing him a nationality and not some level of, ethnicity. And he could not get his head around it. And he actually was so distraught by that, they end up not staying together. But long story short is, I think that a lot of Americans had that concept. A lot of African Americans had that concept until they are educated on what that looks like. We may not share the same nationality to an extent, but we are part of the same ethnic group, right? And understanding that you're a part of the same ethnic group should be more essential than your nationality. You may have different cultures. You may have different, Jamaica has a different culture to some extent, right? Than America to some extent, right? But ultimately, when you look at even if you want to look at the continent on its own, you got different tribes and different things. But ultimately, if there's an invader, if there's an enemy coming towards us, ultimately the goal is to protect. Ultimately, the goal is to defend. Collectively, and that's when we at our peak. When we are defending and protecting each other collectively, and anything outside of that, we are giving into the divide and conquer, strategy that has been working for the last obscene amount of years that we have yet to see, because we keep taking the propaganda that's being handed to us. We keep taking the bait that's being slipped into some of our drinks. We keep taking some of these, agenda items that's being pushed in our way, in our direction, and to benefit, to be on a different class level, to be on a different social economic level. We'll do it at our own demise, even at our brother sister's demise. And so I think that is the real foundation that a lot of these gimmicks are being placed on.
Yeah, I'm thinking about your cousin's experience.
He was mind blown.
Because that's so, I've observed that over the years as well. But the interesting piece is just our concept of what black is. And
well, I think she was saying, I think what she meant to say was, you're not a black American.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think what she meant to say was, you're not a black American. So you don't understand what the struggles here may be. Because I see the oppressor. I think that was her plight.
How long ago was this about?
This was years and years ago. This wasn't anything. She ultimately came to the understanding that he understood what he was saying.
Yeah. I get what you are saying. I see brother Reclaimer NYC is saying, I've always heard the reverse. Now, I think that might be more, I've heard this over the years as well myself.
Mm-hmm.
Where black American people, if they know that you're from Jamaica, they would say that.
Mm-hmm.
But if they don't know, like, you wouldn't have gotten that until you told them my mom was from Jamaica.
Right.
Like, no, like, there's nothing about you they would have said you weren't black.
Right.
Because to them, black mean black Americans. Like, oh, in fact, that's what you just said. Like, It just means like black people, we black in America. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, it takes some different framing to kind of figure out, hold up, we all black. You know what I mean? Because they say Africans, black people. I've always heard it. So I've always heard. I've mentioned it over the years. They be like black people, Africans, and Jamaicans.
Yeah. Right.
In fact, even when we were younger, people didn't know nothing, but they just knew black people and Africans. They thought the Jamaicans was Africans. They just they didn't know. They just thought everybody was using black or African.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely. African booty scratcher.
You experienced that too.
Yeah. You weren't just African. You was an African booty scratcher. That's what you was. You wasn't.
Hold up. Is that what you was calling people, or was you an African booty scratcher? Which one was you? Was you the African booty scratcher, or you was black?
No, since see, in my community, I was the African booty scratcher. And when I grew up, I was the African booty scratcher because, my whole family was Jamaican, and we couldn't hide.
Yeah,
Jamaican. We couldn't hide it. My uncle's on the roof smoking weed with his machete. Right? They hanging out. They doing. So what I'm saying is, I was the outcast, so to speak. Right? But that wasn't from my experience. That wasn't from my family. My family never told us don't be a part of them, or don't hang there, or don't go with them. It was more or less the American or the even the American framework of you're different. Not just because whatever it may be, it's this, you're different. And I don't necessarily think that, I think that we always look to, in some instances, click up with those we are like most. Right? We form cliques with people that we're like most, that we have the most commonalities with. And so I think that was more or less of what it was about. However, I think that is also an infantile level of development, right? I think that is when you haven't matured in your thought pattern to see us as more than one culture.
Absolutely. Can I add something here?
He ain't
Yeah.
the host. He not the host.
Oh, well,
What you doing,
I'm
man?
asking you, Doc.
Look, this Daw's lecture hall, man.
You know what they need to do?
Hold on, I forgot. He is the guest presenter. Hold on, he's the guest presenter. All right, look, all right.
That question was to you, Doc. But they need to add like a raise your hand feature up here in StreamYard or something. but yeah, for real, real quick. In another life, I was a high school teacher, right? And I used to teach African American history, right? And I had a Jamaican student in there, a Jamaican young woman, and we had this debate. Man, it was a fiery debate. She saw herself as Jamaican and not Black, right? And then she had plans to go on to Alabama University. I said, "You want to go to Alabama?" I said, "You gonna have your Black wake up call sooner or later." But anyway, I digress. Another Jamaican immigrant, more famous than my Jamaican student, was Bob Marley's mother, Cedella Booker, who married an African American man, right? And from Delaware, from Wilmington, Delaware. And if you read her biography, where she talks about raising her son, I think it's called Raising My Son, Raising Bob Marley, right? The book is divided into her life in Jamaica, then her life in Delaware, then her life in Miami, right? In Delaware, in the Delaware section of the book, when she's a fresh immigrant from Jamaica in the 1960s, she doesn't mention anything about race or racism, despite the fact that Wilmington, Delaware had like the longest ever occupation by the National Guard after its 1968 riot. The I-95 was just built right through the community. So what I'm saying is there was protest, there was civil rights issues were huge in Wilmington. She mentions none of that in her autobiography. What does that tell you? It tells you about what you were speaking about, that this Black Jamaican immigrant from rural 9 Miles, Jamaica, she had her blinders on initially. She had to have her, I don't want to use the N-word, but her Black wake-up call, right? And it did come, because later on in the section of the autobiography, when she is moving to Miami, by this time, of course, Bob is entering into who he was before he died, and the monies are coming in, and they buy a big mansion in a white area in Pinecrest, Florida. Then, the racism is every day. The white neighbors don't want her in. And she's mentioning this all in her autobiography. And in fact, it gets worse than that. Bob Marley's youngest brother, half brother, some might say, because this is her youngest child with her African American husband, is killed by the police at Cutler Ridge Mall. So you can see how her induction into Blackness, even as by this point a Black immigrant elite living in a white neighborhood in South Florida, you can't tell Cedella Booker she's not Black by the end. So
keep
I
in mind,
bring this up.
But keep in mind,
to highlight what I'm saying.
But keep in mind, the Black Americans weren't calling themselves Black either.
Correct. But guess who was? Guess who was calling them N-words though? The white folks, the white Cubans. So it was unavoidable, even for wealthy Cedella Booker. Go ahead. Sorry.
No need to say sorry. I just want to when we give context, we have to give the context. Like, you know what I mean? Like my father, their generation, they just began to become Black.
Right.
You know what I mean? So people become Black at different times. That's what you're saying, right? So even people today, they still wake. I'm talking about whether you're even a Black American. There are even ideas of what Blackness is, and Blackness being a social, political, like identity label that says, look, I'm in the fight for Black power. Like, I became Black. Like, some people still aren't considered Black. Some people ask the question, when did you realize the first time you were Black? I'm talking about even in the United States. Now, of course, we now use the word Black a lot more. Now people, we know that we're Black. Some people still don't use the term still today. But again, I want to hear more about this African booty scratcher period, though. And the reason Bawana is laughing in the chat saying, "What was your uncle up on the roof for?" You know what I mean? And it's a little funny, but I think it's real because I've never heard this part of the story from you. I think I may have heard some part of the story, but I would like to hear it. Like, and when did you become Black? No,
Well, everybody know what they call the Jamaicans. In the chat, what they call the Jamaicans in your neighborhood? What did y'all call the Jamaicans? when the Jamaicans came to y'all neighborhood, what did y'all call them?
The weed, something with weed. I don't know. I'm sorry.
What did y'all call the Jamaicans? This is not just my thought, right? Everybody knows when Jamaicans moved to your area, there was a thought that came, not booty scratches, but no. Everybody know this. This is a running joke. This is a running joke that people know. Anytime Jamaicans was in the neighborhood, you call them the what Jamaicans?
African Jamaicans? Well.
What did it say? Nobody got it? Nobody got it? I bet everybody.
We got 10 jobs. 10 jobs.
No, they called them the crazy Jamaicans.
Oh, the crazy Jamaicans.
The crazy Jamaicans.
Yeah,
there's a connotation that is with Jamaicans as them being crazy. And when my peoples was on the porch, that's just where they was comfortable at. They was comfortable. I'm not even on porch. They was on the roof. They was on the we had a porch front house. My mother came here, or my grandmother came here in the 1970s. She got a job as a seamstress. And in 1970, she was brought up here by a company that needed a seamstress. So she's a seamstress. Mm-hmm. And so she had found work here from Jamaica to come here 1973, if I'm not mistaken. And she was sponsored by the actual company or the individual who gave her job. And when she came here, she was able to buy a house as soon as she came. No, I'm sorry, not as soon as she came here. They lived somewhere else prior to them buying the house that they did on East 43rd Street that we still own to this day. But yeah, so we were seen as the crazy Jamaicans, and since we were seen as the crazy Jamaicans, nobody wanted to associate with us to an extent, right? We had to really assimilate to be liked or to be a part of the community, right? And so that's just, again, I would say it's a cultural thing. It's more of a cliquish thing. It's something that happens when you know someone. So my mother taught me about being black all my life. Like, she taught me about being black because, culturally, that's all she had was black people. That's all she wanted to deal with was black people, her own people. And so subconsciously, I got that from my mother. Also, my father was a Rastafarian, or he was associated with Rastafarian, right? Didn't want us eating shrimp, seafood. My biological name is Jamal Abdullah, right? These are names that's associated with some level of knowledge of self to some extent. And with that, I think those experiences, just my upbringing and me being around the parents that I had, really gave me my and I also would say, just in general, there's some level of what I would call a bug. I think there's some level of bug, for lack of a better word, that we have that ultimately gives us our true stamp of being black. And I had an older brother who was only 2 years older than me, who passed away. And in fact, 2 days ago was the memorial of him passing away. And we always was on a quest to learn more, to know more about ourselves, about our history. And I think that somewhere along the lines really, gave us identity of being, African centered. And again, you, my brother, you, Dr. DAW, Dr. Dennis Assault Winkler, shortly after my brother passed, I seen a picture of Marcus Garvey on your page. And I was like, what this brother know about Marcus Garvey? And little did I know that he was a scholar, and he already did a massive research and was a big proponent for African consciousness and for his community. Is when we linked up. And I think that was ultimately the synergy that was created that caused the great union that we have. And I think that, that kind of solidified my blackness is when I got to me and you got very acquainted. And, you try to kind of put me on a lot more of the consciousness outside of, the day-to-day understanding that, me and my brother were seeking. And so it gave some solid understanding to what I felt in my soul. Right? It's almost like affirmation. Like when you feel a thing and you really understand that it's there, but you don't have no tangible or nothing you can really point to. I think consciousness was already living inside of me. African consciousness was already living inside of me. It just needed the platform and the foundation to really spring from. And I think that's what, ultimately, happened when we collided, when we reconnected, if you will.
Yeah. So you said reconnected. So yeah, I mean, with all honesty though, like not this like just because it's funny about this African booty scratcher thing, but like this assimilation that you spoke about, right? How was that process? Like, how was that for you?
Well, the reality of it was, I was ostracized to an extent, right? And so I don't really mean ostracized like, don't play with them. But, when people say, yo, he with the courageous Jamaicans, what are they saying? Like, what is that really saying? That's saying that they not one of us. And so, part of my upbringing was I want to be like y'all. I want to be with the crowd. I want to be, you know what I'm saying? Because again, we didn't have many family here. We had my mother, my father, they separated when we was young. Then I moved with my grandmother, my grandmother, my grandfathers, and my uncles. They weren't as community driven, right? They didn't have the concept of community more instilled in them. They were more or less, not as warm, right? And again, this Jamaican cultural background. I tell this story to this day. I never understood my mother until I stepped foot on Jamaican soil. I never understood where her personality derived from. I never realized why she was so stern. I never realized why she was so hard until I stepped foot in Jamaica. And I realized the minute I stepped foot, I said, oh, okay. Okay. I see now. I understand now. And so where was I going with that? I was just speaking on, what my experience was like growing up around, York Road, Old York, and not necessarily feeling accepted initially. You had to go harder. You had to go harder to be accepted. And so, ultimately, got caught up in, the drugs and got caught up in the lifestyle and got caught up in, a lot of the ailments that are set up for us as young Black men to get caught up in. And I think that is a part of the reason, right? Some level of acceptance. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Some level of acceptance. You want to be accepted. So I'm not an African booty scratcher. Shit, I'm just like you. So, I sell drugs like you selling drugs. Like there's no distinction. I didn't want to be excluded. It's not until I got older till I really realized the essence and the greatness of the culture of Jamaican that I really want to embrace it even more. It's only when I understood that it is a culture. It is some level of culture that I have that was presented to me by my parents that ultimately it's part of who I am. It's not till I got older till I really want to really recognize it and live in it and really, be a part of it is when I got older. But it was in me. It was stuck in me. It was always there. You know what I'm saying? So.
But it's kind of like to some degree you intentionally assimilated to the culture of the community that you grew up in because you wanted to belong.
Absolutely.
And in fact, you these were the people you were around. So to some degree you were going to pick it up, but to some degree, even the culture that you had at home, that was like you were kind of to some degree kind of like trying to intentionally augment yourself in a way that wouldn't be your dominant presenting culture.
Yeah, absolutely. All the way down to patois, right? All the way down to the language. You know what I'm saying? Like when I say my mother and father Jamaican, they like authentic, 100% Jamaican. Like, you know, they don't sugarcoat. They don't try to change their. My mother probably to this extent now, but they wasn't trying to change their tongue. They intentionally wanted to keep their tongue, their mother tongue, and all that. And so, you know, not as being embracing that as much is again where, you know, I ultimately went down the road of, you know, playing with guns, playing with, you know, drugs, and ultimately, you know, getting sentenced to like, you know, 10 years as a youth, behind, you know, wanting to fit in, wanting to be like, you know, the individuals in my community. And so, yeah, that's a part of my life and part of my story that I don't dismiss, because I think it ultimately made me to who I am, right? It ultimately, you know, plays. But the other part of that, the other piece of that is, had I been born in Jamaica, I'd have been shipped back to Jamaica, right? I wouldn't have a citizenship status here in America. So after I was incarcerated, I would have been right back to Jamaica, if you will, right? So I also think about it as well, being a first generation African in America really essentially helped me to ascend and be in a position where I could help other people. Granted, I can do that from Jamaica, but I think it had been a lot more obstacles and things of that nature trying to, you know, make it from there.
So are you just helping Jamaicans?
Absolutely not. No, I mean, not at all.
I mean, because y'all don't really. I mean, FBA says, you know, you come over here, you tether, and then you just, you know. In fact, it was a video. If I could show you this video, it is crazy. This guy put out an order, Juneteenth. Y'all not supposed to celebrate it. 1 and 2, he says any black business, if you open businesses up in our community, you must not send it back home to Jamaica. So, but
send the proceeds and the money.
You got to stay in our community. You know, don't send no barrels over to Jamaica. You know what I mean? But go. You about to say something?
But why wouldn't we? I mean, why not though?
Hold up, man! Don't get me in trouble, brother. Look, I'm African American, brother. Look, bro. Don't get me in trouble with my peoples, bro. What you doing in here, man? What are you doing? Talking to look. I'm already in trouble for having a Jamaican wife.
No,
look, they about the community's about to be boycotting me and everything.
Oh man, that's crazy. But no, man, I think that again, I think it's narrow-minded. And I think it's narrow-minded to not want to help. Period. I think one of the things we do in our community, in our business, what we do is any business that moves into any neighborhood should definitely empower that neighborhood. They definitely should have some level of community social action going towards that neighborhood, whether that's financially, whether that's, you know, and any feature that's possible. You definitely should. The community should definitely benefit from you as a participatory in that community, right? And so that's what we do. We definitely help maintain.
Let me ask you a question. Did you mention who we are? Are you comfortable with mentioning who we are?
What? Oh, the organization?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Self-determined recovery. Self-determined recovery. I'm the CEO. Also have a partner, Jamal Connor, who is the COO of that organization. Self-determined recovery is a inpatient recovery facility, with not only inpatient but also outpatient. We also have a outpatient mental health facility clinic that we help individuals with struggling with, you know, anxiety, depression, cultural misorientation, just the gambit, right? We run the gambit on helping our community. We definitely specifically have a curriculum that's targeting Black men and Black women, but we are open to the community, right? And we do help our people, you know, break loose the chains of psychological enslavement.
Yeah, I mean, I really appreciate this conversation. I'm not going to hold you too much longer, but I do appreciate the conversation. Family, if y'all want to join in before our dear brother gets out of here, the link is in the chat. Don't hold back, as Sister Queen says. I do want to, so I appreciate the work that you're doing and your approach to it. So basically, so essentially, you and
Got hit
Jo-
sin.
Jo-
Got hit sin.
say the game.
Hit sin.
Hit send. Oh yeah. Oh, he over here being the engineer. You know what I mean, look, you can't deal with people, business owners and type A personalities. See this. See. Let me leave it alone. Let me leave it alone. Right, look. Okay, So I was about to go somewhere, but so did you ever reach that point though?
What point?
Where you feel like you assimilated to a degree that you were no longer considered the crazy Jamaican, but now the crazy Yankee?
Did I ever reach a point where I was considered the crazy Jamaican?
Not the crazy.
I mean,
Jamaican,
not the crazy Jamaican,
but not necessarily the crazy Jamaican, but just
not Jamaican,
or just as a part of the African American, Black American, African family here in America.
Yeah, I was. I would say I was. Again, not by like unconsciously. Yeah, unconsciously. Yeah, I think that my environment and the music and the actual environment that I was living in definitely poured into me to give me the understanding that I was a part of American society. I was an American Black man. Yes. It was not until, again, as I grew, my level of understanding, my level of development expanded to know that I'm not this, I'm this and this, that, and right. So when my, capacity grew, my mind grew, I was essentially more. I wouldn't erase my upbringing. I think all that played an essential role to who I am and who I've become. Essentially. So I think that I did see myself as just, in my ignorance. Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think, I think most people have an awakening. And I think my awakening came to me in a fashion that developed me to a higher level of development. Absolutely.
What does that mean? Hey, I'm still me on camera, brother. Hey, look. Hey. Okay. Hey.
Oh man.
Look. I appreciate you, brother.
Yes,
sir.
Yes,
I think what I'm hearing from you though is basically there's a thread that is that you kind of like spoke to from the beginning to now, and that thread being first and foremost, you are a African person, and that is a social political framework that you intentionally use.
Absolutely.
Because one, you agree with Garvey saying, I'm not going to give up a whole continent, a whole race of people for some petty divisions that Europeans have carved out and created.
That's sure.
One. Two, I think I've heard you're saying that basically you're doing work in the community. You see, hold up, somebody joined us. That's KP again. KP, what you doing, KP? Look, I thought we had a new guest. But KP, look. KP a family member too, just like you. You know what I mean? But nonetheless, so I'm hearing you say all of that, and I appreciate the work that you're doing in the community, you and Brother Jamal and the whole team you got over there. And I just wanted to make it very clear that, from my experience, just my experience, like, and I imagine that your experience was like you kind of articulated, right? I've heard bits and pieces of it, growing up, assimilating into a degree, maybe, and probably there's this piece like, damn, maybe I shouldn't have been to some degree too ashamed of, maybe I could have perfected patois a little bit more, or maybe I could have did that just trying to fit in type of thing that lots of people, first generation and Black people experience as they migrate or their parents migrate here and start new lives. or I don't know about new lives, but you know,
New chapters.
new chapters. I like that, brother. New chapters in their lives. So that becomes that struggle, and I think what you said was essential because it's a real part of the story. Like even the African booty scratcher or the wild Jamaicans or the crazy Jamaicans or everybody who doesn't understand the thing, they will try. They'll kind of characterize it in a way that is less than many times.
Absolutely.
And plus, Jamaicans did have the shooters and the whole lot of the culture going on and all that type. You about to say something?
No, I think it derived from that. Yeah, it derived from the mercilessness of Jamaicans, right? A lot of them, we understand that, they had Jamaican drug mafia, Jamaican drug cartels that were merciless, that would kill you on sight. And so I think that, again, also stemming from
go back.
Also stemming that from the brutality in Jamaica as well, right? But the sugarcane was so important and so such a vital essence of the economy that they would kill you in an instance if you didn't get your quota of sugarcane. And on top of that, they had insurance for you. So if you were worth more dead than alive in a lot of instances, but the brutality of Jamaica and what I was imagining and what I was speaking to as I was saying that I left when I touched the shores of Jamaica and I seen the intensity in which a lot of Jamaicans are, and I was describing my mother and I understood why she was the way she was. A lot of that stems from the brutality in Jamaica that we never healed from. A lot of that, the atrocity that was committed that we never got an opportunity to recover from. And so that contributes to the recklessness and the mercilessness that we embrace, that we learned behavior of not really caring of an individual, or they're only as good as they can make you. And so that culture just got intensified, and with that Eurocentric concept, it got intensified. And again, that's why we can see in this crazy Jamaicans, because the brutality in which they were, killing and harming people with for the name of a dollar, for the name of capital, the name of, classism, right? Because you can't separate that from classism. You trying to do better. You trying to come up out of your situation. So there's a level of classism involved with that. So that's how we tie all that back together in one neat little bow.
That's interesting because, and I'm gonna wrap it up here, because growing up in the 90s and the 80s and all that going on with the drug cartels and all that type of thing, especially via New York, coming down to different places and all that type of thing. If any, right there where you lived at, right down the street, St. George's, some Jamaican New York brothers came down there and it became an all-out war at some point. What side was you on?
Well, I wasn't on the steps then.
You weren't on the steps?
I heard about it.
What side was you on, brother? No, I'm just messing, right? But it was a real thing. But at the same time, what I've grown to know, going to Northern, both of us went to the same high school and living in the same neighborhood. Now, me, you was trying to get away from Jamaica, and I was trying to get it.
You trying to get closer.
I was trying to get real close to Jamaica. You know what I mean? So, if y'all don't know, I met my wife when she was 16, but I was always African-centered and a little bit very, what do they call it? A little bit of. I don't know. I fear no man.
Okay.
I fear no man. So I'm going up in the Jamaican. I'm going up in the Esau class. You know what I mean? And getting a Jamaican woman. All the Jamaican dudes mad. You know what I mean? But I found out. Like I didn't care. I mean, I'm from Baltimore. You got that. So you got it twice. It ain't just mama, but there's a cultural thing. I think I'm hearing what you say, and all that aggressiveness, that assertiveness, that what you need to survive. But also, I will argue that some of that is just not trauma. Some of it is that some of what you see here in America is trauma as well. I'm talking about the over passivity, the like. There's this on both ends. In America, it's a very commercial culture where it's a very customer service culture. So it's like there's a certain level of edge that is taken off in America. You got to do everything to, even if you don't even like it. If your back hurt, you got to act like it don't. If you just stepped on my shoe, you gotta, you gotta put on this front. America is really good at putting on faces.
Absolutely.
And that's also a survival culture to do that. So, and also what I've come to know through my experiences is that it's more complex on all the sides. Like me, I went up in there to meet. I also know Jamaican people as being ivory and loving and caring. And I ain't met no Jamaican. Look, honestly, I didn't been around Jamaicans and Africans and everybody too long in my businesses and from high school, all up in the Esau classes. You know what Esau is? See, he not real Jamaican, y'all. I don't know Esau. I was trying to get up in Jamaica, and I won. I got 2 children. Speak my language. And so Esau is English as second language type of classes where people who come from different countries where English is not their first language, they actually go through this class to help them kind of adapt to this particular culture. So I was all up in Esau. Now Jamaicans really didn't have to do Esau as much as like my sister-in-law, she's from Haiti. Now she had to do, because she was speaking Creole, French, type of thing. She had a whole different language she had to learn. But then you got brothers and sisters from the continent. They might speak English, they might not. You might have the Asian students up in there. It ain't just the African or black people. So the Asian students and the different people from. Go ahead.
So your sister-in-law went to Northern?
Etlin. Yeah, she went to Northern.
Oh, I know that.
Yeah. My brother-in-law went there.
Yeah, I didn't know she went.
Yeah, she went to Jamaica. I was trying to push up on Etlin first.
Man, let her Camille hear that. Camille, hey, he ain't mean that, Camille.
No, she know the story. It's true. It's like that. But she had a boyfriend. He was a tall Jamaican guy.
Oh, okay.
And Jamaica's crazy, so I'm messing with you.
Okay.
No, but that's how it was seen, though, right?
Right?
No, really. But I wasn't really worried about all that type of thing. But again, I went to the Esau classes and learned that,
it's not that bad.
It ain't that serious.
Well, I think that's for everybody. I think everybody has, I had a homeboy that few homeboys. I got a homeboy named Black, was vicious, right? A lot of people was definitely terrified of him. But when you know him, he was cool. Like, you know what I'm saying? I think everybody had that side. Like you can be vicious, but you also can be gentle. That's the duality, right? You can be who you are amongst your people, but if somebody cross you or there's some level of contention, you get vicious.
Right.
And so I think that, that's the duality you speak of. Just because they didn't present as mean all the time, don't mean they all mean all the time. But when it's about to go down, they got the propensity to turn up all the way up.
One thing I say, growing up around Old York and Cater and during the crack era, one thing I realized is that even gangsters, thugs, and criminals ain't that all day. Absolutely. I ain't met one yet. You know what I mean? Besides the one who really is crazy.
Yeah.
But that's why I don't really I've never met one. I'm talking about people. I know people who done some bad things. I'm talking about, I saw them 20 years ago. Now they came back. They still, I've seen them 20 years later. It's like we ain't miss a beat.
Right.
But the reality is, I know they're human. And there's in lots of these conditions you're talking about, to tie it back together, what you were saying, even with all of that, whether it's Jamaica, Baltimore City, or wherever you are, whether it was yesteryear, during the transatlantic enslavement, Mayatha era, or now, which people still say the Mayatha continues, it's still, we're reacting under European dominance. Whether the island looks all black and you don't own the beaches, you don't own the resorts.
Can't even go. Can't even go to the beaches.
Can you go?
Fighting to go to the beaches.
Absolutely.
Right,
and whether and I talked to sisters in the resorts one time. I told them I don't want to go to no resort. If I go to Jamaica, I don't want to go to no resorts. I'm sorry.
Listen, my same sentiments.
So your same sentiments.
My same sentiments.
And that's what I told them. So we're not going to stay in the resorts. So the sister was telling me and she bleached, but she bleached and she was the first person to get a job, and it was part of the bleaching that she believes helped her get that job.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So first, only local person
Wow.
who's working in the resort that we were at about
Wow.
maybe this was some years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You had something?
No, yeah, that's real. That's real, man. Colorism is real. Classism is real in Jamaica as well. And I think that, you know, it's just it's just worldview. It's a dark, twisted understanding that I think that most people don't have. And I think you mentioned something that was so paramount to me before, and I heard you said if you don't know what your worldview is, if you haven't identified a worldview, you probably are thinking through someone else's worldview.
Yeah.
Right. And that was so profound, because many people can't even conceive that, because how do you really compare a thing? Right. You need comparison. Like you wouldn't understand you wouldn't even appreciate a sunny day if you never had rain. Right. It contrasts. So you got to have one thing in order to understand what the opposite, or not even if you're talking about opposite, it don't have to be the opposite. It just has to be something that's comparable. Right. You have to be able to draw from something to get something else to, you know, kind of come up with your own understanding of a thing. Right. It's not healthy to have this one understanding and move off that one understanding, because how do you know how can you measure it, if you will? How can you measure how healthy it is if you don't have anything to compare it to? I lost you on that one?
No.
Okay.
I'm hearing you, and I'm reading this. I'm hearing you say this comparison piece, but also this worldview. In other words, like, again, that goes to our need to define for ourselves, to create for ourselves what our culture is, and also to tell the more proper narrative. Now, I think brother KP also comes on and talks about some of these things as realities, but I'm going to tell you right now, I agree with Bawana. Like for example, like, I'm a very direct person. So I realize I come from a very direct family. Like my family, like Camille's family is Jamaican, but they ain't more direct than us.
Really?
Let's think about my father. Let's think about me. Like, we just say things. Like, it's not like it's like we're gonna tell you. So it's not like, you know, like we're gonna say something good. Sometimes Jamaicans, they struggle with saying, "Oh, that was tasty." It's okay. It's okay. You know, like, oh, that's all I get. you know, it's just a cultural thing, and I think sometimes but I swear, I agree with Bawana though. I met some of the sweetest, most beautiful, kindest people, including my wife. And she tough. You know what I mean? Like what I mean, but I cannot say she's one of the most sweetest people I know. I cannot say that. I cannot say she's not. Like, really, I've been with her since I was 16. What do you think? Like, she's one of the most kindest, sweetest people I know. I mean, her family, you know, now everybody's different, but but for the most, I'm telling you though, that, look, I've been to Jamaica. They know me. I mean, they will say you fat if you gain some weight. But again, I'm not sensitive like that. Dennis, what you doing, man? You're fat, man. You're bigger than Ron. I'm like, what? I'm like, I didn't even know. I'm glad she told me. Like, yo, I didn't know I gained so much weight. I'm like, damn, for real, Camille, I'm bigger than dude. Like, for real. I'm like, for real? I didn't even know. I'm glad they told me, and I went on a diet. But nonetheless, this is true. But what I'm saying is, they still the most hospitable, the most sweet, the most all these type of things. They say, see, people say things in certain ways, but that is cultural. And sometimes what we misunderstand in the United States, and even you, what I'm hearing here is like, you were conditioned as a first generation person here in America, and you saw American norms, and your mother wasn't fitting them. It didn't fit for you.
Hold
up. Go ahead. I mean,
when I say you derive that from,
you was like, she's so. I saw how she is and where she.
Yeah.
That's called
Yeah. That was a culture. The culture that she came from was tough. It was rough, right? And it wasn't that. I mean, because I'm like that. I think that that's where I got it from.
Okay, I mean, people be like that. They be they like that, but they don't like that. Yeah, they like that, but they don't like that. You know what I mean? Now, look, don't trick me, no, but because no, I'm saying I'm just going with what you said.
Yeah,
like
I didn't realize how this was how she had to be like this. You know what I'm saying? Like, so what I was saying was not to say that I don't know if you got the impression that I didn't like it or I didn't. Of course, I mean, I think what I was saying was not anything outside of that. Was I just understood why she had to be the way she was.
Right.
I don't know if I compared that to how I perceived it.
Well, when you started going down the road of it a bit, you started talking about where it's coming from, and then we even got to brutality almost. Like it was like then it was this whole process of sugarcane and aggressiveness and you know, and then I didn't understand. So I mean, one could maybe you love that, but but for some people, maybe not you. They struggle as first generation people,
right?
Because they're in this new country. They're in this country.
Got you.
And they're learning a culture,
right?
And these are the cultural norms. But when they go home,
right?
Okay.
So for instance, a perfect example would be, parents. You calling the police on your parents if they beating you.
Yeah.
Right. Child Protective Services. Right. No, you weren't doing that in the Jamaican household. That's something that's learned in America. That's like, so yes, to your point, yes. To your point, that would be something that, culturally you'll be like, okay, well, this is brutality or this is abuse. But that's nothing that you wouldn't learn in Jamaica. That's common practice,
right,
in Jamaica.
What was that again? Let me make sure I'm following you.
Common practice.
What was it? Corporal punishment?
Just abuse. You would say it was abuse. Like if your mother whoops you with something.
Okay, so corporal punishment would be seen as abuse, not like
here, not necessarily in Jamaica. So
right.
To your point, that may could be like, okay, well, I can see why she's like this, or the American culture will have you saying, well, this is abuse.
Yeah, it would. Yes.
So that is in one way to your point of saying, okay, well, this can be how one may perceive this as harsh. If in America it's seen as an abuse, but if in another culture it's not seen as abuse, it's seen as discipline.
Well, and that's a good example because that happens even in American Black families to this day. I'm talking about those who ancestry come from the soil. They say that it happens still today, even with those who pass down this practice of corporal punishment. Now, I think we can have a deeper conversation on that, but I get what you're saying. Some would see it one way, where others would see it another way. Even the way people talk to one another. Like I mean, I work with students who their family might come from Latin backgrounds. So what happens is they see how the other parents are treating their children compared to how their parents are treating them, or how they have to be the in-between between their parents and the rest of the world to help them understand things. So it begins to feel like sometimes that's a difficult place to be in.
Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah, I share that. I can understand how you see that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So Bawana looked like he wanted to jump in here with this. Then we'll get off of here. So anyway, Miss Jennifer, that was me, not him. but let me see it. Brother Bawana.
Doc, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Where you calling from, brother? Where you calling from?
You like for me to say the Bahamas?
Are you part of the U.S. Bahamas, or you part of the other
Virgin
part?
Islands, Bahamas.
Nah, I'm from the British part of the Bahamas.
Oh,
There's only one part of the
you're a
Bahamas.
British brother, huh?
That's right. That's right. That's right.
I'm
Listen,
gonna leave you alone. Go ahead, Bawana. What's happening?
yeah. First, let me say shout out to the brother. I think he gave an excellent interview. I like that neck piece he's wearing though. That neck piece he's wearing
That's
is
African,
nice.
brother. That's African.
Oh man, that's so
That's
nice.
not Caribbean,
Yeah.
brother.
Yeah, that's nice. I think that the brother, when he mentioned his mother, she may have been from Kingston, I'm thinking. And there's a difference between someone who grew up in Kingston and someone who grew up like St. Catherine, the countryside. You know what I mean? It's almost like saying someone from New York City have a different kind of mentality from someone who's from Alabama, because the circumstances are different. You know, you have a bunch of people in a small space, so they're going to be perceived as more aggressive. You know, so I think that, and when people mention the Jamaican sometimes or Caribbean people, they always talk about the worst aspects of our personality as opposed to the best. They don't mention that when Jamaicans come from Jamaica and go to America, they have this entrepreneurial spirit. You know, they create industry. They don't talk about things like that. They always mention us from the worst aspects of ourselves. And I think that sometimes that's very unfair. So that's why I had to mention the Jamaicans I know, they would give you their shirt off of their back. This is a fact. You know, they're very loving people. They're very respectful people. They just don't take no bullshit. You know what I mean? And nor should they. Nor should they. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you get to know them, they are very respectful. They're very loving people, very family oriented. So I just don't want the narrative to carry that when people mention Jamaica, they always think of shower posse. You know, nah. And I said there's another side to that. You know, I just wanted to be clear. Another thing too is when we talk about this level of blackness, you know, the brother was saying, well, when he grew up, they were saying, well, he wasn't black, he was Jamaican. If you only knew your idea of blackness is from the circumstances you grew up in, you wouldn't understand there's different levels to blackness. Different levels of blackness, you know, and I think that sometimes when you travel more, the brother said he developed his mind more. If you travel more, if you engage with people more, you would understand that there's different levels to blackness. You know, someone coming from Jamaica, how could they not think they was black when 90% of them reggae music was singing about Mother Africa, Africa this, Marcus Garvey that, you know? So it's like, how do you jump over that black experience to say, well, blackness only persists when I perceive it this way? You know, that's not really consistent. But I just really wanted to say shouts out to you, Doc, and the brother. I think this interview was excellent, bro. But I'll leave it there.
No, stay right there. I appreciate your commentary, and I saw you in the chat trying to click.
Yeah, you a tether level. You a tether level. Yeah.
I heard you trying like, okay, Jamaicans are sweet, and you know, but you know, and I agree, honestly. To me, like for example, that's why I'm trying to differentiate between directness and sweetness or love or care. Like sometimes, like we believe the way people say things, and that determines whether or not they show
rude,
love or care, or they're rude and stuff like that. And that could be very, when you're in this American society, again, I call this a pedestalized culture. I'm serious, like where you have to walk on eggshells with American people, especially those who have subscribed to liberal white frameworks. And then you got conservatives that are just out of their mind too. They're just relentless. You know what I mean? But again, that's exactly essentially what I wanted to say. With the, look.
Always have to have that ego. Always have to have that ego stroke. Always have to be coddled. Everyone don't see the world like that. Some people are very direct, and you see that as abusive. You know, how dare he talk to me like that when he is just being direct?
Right, because I'm really direct, and I'm not, as y'all say, y'all on the show. That's why y'all be laughing at me. But I'm not like gonna be like you MFer. You know, I'm not that person. I'm just gonna like say something like like that's real. Like, and you're gonna be like, well, I mean, I don't like how you said that. Well, I mean, it is. I mean, that's what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not like I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how people from other places kind of talk.
Yeah.
They're like you about to say something.
No, I get that. I get exactly what you're saying, and I really agree. Because you know, I think I'm kind of direct, and I think that comes from and first and foremost, I just want to give the brother a shout out, man. I appreciate you even coming up with your perspective or even interjecting that perspective in the conversation, because I think it's much needed. You know, I'm really speaking on my experience, but again, I do have family members that I love that's loving. You know what I'm saying? Like my sisters, my brother, my mother's even loving. You understand what I'm saying? My mother's loving. You understand what I'm saying? She had her own way of showing love, but you know, I think that again, I just appreciate you for just adding some of that, you know, balance to the conversation. But yeah, man, I was just going to say that you know, culturally, that is what you described that to a T. You know, I think American culture is very is becoming so passive and so, you know, gentle. You have to be so gentle that you again, you know, and if it's the dominant culture, you must do what the dominant culture is requesting of you. Mm-hmm. Even with, you know, the now what they call the acronyms that we got to use, and if you don't use the acronym, this is in some way being rude or disrespectful.
What you talking about, brother? You talking about pronouns?
Pronouns.
Hold up, brother. Hold up, brother. Hold up. You want right? Look, I'm already in trouble with talk about with these already. You want to add to it? No, I'm messing with you. I talk about it all the time.
Yeah, but you know that is, I think that's the sensitivity we talking about. You know, and I think that is definitely a culture thing. I even, you know, sometimes me and my wife may have those type of discussions because, you know, her growing up being very nurtured and being very, you know, protected in an environment that really, you know, was very, very protective of her. And I think that sometimes, you know, even from my culture, my perspective, it comes off as probably rude or, you know, and so that's something that I think that is a perfect analogy of how American society is set up. Good, bad, and different. You know, that's some of the things that we're dealing with just on an overall level.
Yeah. I mean, and you as a person who grew up in America, you will experience that too when you go places.
In terms of what?
It's like, a difference.
In terms
like
of
what you noticed as soon as you got off the plane.
Right.
Because of course you experience all these different ways of being.
Yeah.
But the dominant way of being is not just who you go home to at nighttime. You're at school, you're in you're at work, you're working with all types of people. Like, for example, my wife is a sweetie pie. But she kind of culturally Jamaican. And what I mean by that?
Right.
She's shy, first of all. She's shy and she's from the country though. But even from the country, Bawana, she's from the countryside, but she's still very like sometimes certain ways that people phrase stuff, phraseology becomes a problem. Because the way that you would say something elsewhere will be different than what you do here. It's acceptable there, but not here. It doesn't. That's what I'm really trying to say is it's not always that a thing is right or wrong or aggressive. Like what seems aggressive here doesn't seem aggressive there. Right. And what seems aggressive here or non-aggressive here will also seem aggressive in other places. You know, so it's kind of like or off code. You know what I mean? Off script. You know, not a part of our culture. Like, for example, in some cultures, let's say Islam, if you go to certain regions of Africa and the Middle East and all that type of thing, if you dress a certain way, that will be considered aggressive and disrespectful. But then those of us in the West is like, what? I mean, I'm doing me. I mean, what are you trying to do?
Yeah,
like,
It's a hot girl summer. Let me
Yeah,
get
hot girl summer. And it might not
Let me
even be
step
that
outside.
hottie. It might be pretty modest here in America.
Right.
But when you go to another place, it's seen as aggressive. But anyway, Brother Bawana, you got any closing words before we get up out of here?
No. Like I say, I think that your brothers gave a good analysis. But as you were saying, when you go somewhere like in the Middle East, if you wear certain clothing, you're off code. But if I could use the same analogy, if I was to go to California in some areas and I'm wearing a certain color, I'm off code. You know, so acculturation is just sometimes when you're living in your box, you can't really see that what you do in your box is very similar to what they do in their box. But it's only sometimes when you get outside that box, you can recognize the differences. But like I say, brother, I think that you and the brother, I forget his name, I think you all give an excellent analysis, breakdown, and interview. And more of this stuff, more of this if you can. More of this.
Well, I mean,
Yes, sir.
you gotta tell your fellow friends come in and look. The rest of the audience ain't coming here today though. This the good stuff. See, they don't like to hear the good stuff.
They like to hear the showboat stuff. They like that.
They want to hear a first generation American that's my brother who defies all the BS that they talk about. And what I'm saying is, even with my dear brother KP, look. All I need is my one example right here. Is enough. Know why? He's an anecdotal example of what it looks like to be from Caribbean parentage. And he calls himself African. He identifies as Pan-African, African descendant, and so on and so forth. He lives in Baltimore City, and and all that type of thing. And guess what? He my brother. He lived in the same neighborhood that I grew up in. I mean, he went to the same school I went to. Oh, they give you one anecdote. All I need is give them is one anecdote, but I know I got many more. So it's like,
unfortunately,
push the envelope because they don't give me nothing. And in fact, they just give me the worst example. So I'm gonna give you an example. Like here, I give you an example of my sister-in-law. Hold up, y'all. Hold up. My sister-in-law. What did my sister-in-law say, y'all? What did my sister-in-law say? What did she say, y'all? And we're gonna look. I respect this man's time. He's a hard-working business person, doing great work in our community. But so I'm gonna get him out of here. But let me let y'all know. Let me let my sister-in-law tell y'all herself. No, I got my own.
That's what.
Hey, what's going on? Where you from?
You already know.
Where you from?
Haiti.
You think Black Americans are dirty?
No, not at all.
You see that sister they got up there?
Yeah, I saw
her. Who are you with me?
My brother.
Oh, say it again, sir.
My brother.
All right, look. See, she been saying that forever. How long you known me? 32 years. All right, there you go. You see it? Look at
That's right. Hey.
Don't spin for it. I don't want you to get in no trouble.
Okay,
It's a diaspora event, right? I ain't messing with these two. They might tell me I can't put it online. they be like, I need a release. So I agree with Brother Bawana.
Sakvase, Nabule. Unfortunately, Doc, you know that hatred runs the algorithms. Division runs the algorithms. But you are a truth teller. So your job is to tell the truth no matter where the algorithms go. So it doesn't matter the fact that it's not moving the algorithms. You continue to talk the truth and continue to share the truth with the rest of your audience, and let that grow. Put that out into the atmosphere. Maybe 20 years from now, when the FBA band the miscreants wake up, they'll be apt to hear what you have to say then. Maybe not now, but later. But just put it out there. Your job is to put the truth out there. I'll leave it. Shout out to you and shout out to the brother in the room as well. I'm out.
We appreciate it.
Right,
we appreciate it,
good brother.
So I appreciate that, Bawana. My sister-in-law, and I thought that was key to bring it up today because there's a lot going on around Haiti. And some of these FBAs and freedmen's and all these people being very happy about some of the things that Supreme Court came down with yesterday. And so they found one example here that they found one lady in Haiti who says that African Americans are dirty, and she probably was doing it for clicks and views. She was on the show with them. She's probably a social media person, and all they need is one example. I gave you one example there. She said she's my sister. She knew me for 30-something odd years. Look, she went to Northern. You went to Northern, right? They say y'all don't live in our community. Y'all don't go to school with us. Y'all don't do all this type of thing. I'm trying to fix. She came from Haiti. She had to learn English. You know, you first generation here, and you were born here. But at the same time, y'all my peoples. Wait, they be like, where y'all be at? You know, I don't know. They know how to assimilate. That's where they be at. But anyway, brother, I'm gonna let you close out anything we didn't say today. Anything that you want to, you know, get off, closing on out, sitting on home. I really appreciate your time, your effort, the work that you're doing, and you know, go ahead, continue to give some of your love to the family.
Well, just want to appreciate everybody for tuning in. My name is Montu Abra. Also, my government is Jamal Lee. I have an organization called Self-Determined Recovery. We help men and women that are recovering from alcohol abuse, also that are struggling with mental health crises. And we also have an outpatient facility, a mental health facility. And to find me, you can catch us on, see some of the work we're doing. You can look up selfdeterminedrecovery.com, and you can also go to SDR4SUD, and that is S as in self, D as in determined, R as in recovery, the number 4, SUD.com. And you can also find us on IG at self-determined recovery as well. But yeah, that's all I got, Doc. Just want to shout you out again, man, for the wonderful work you're doing, the work you have been doing for years in the community. We see it. We are also in champion all the work that you do. Also work with your father as well. He comes to our program as well and helps the brothers recalibrate and reground themselves in some of the meditation and Tai Chi that he does for the organization. But also want to shout you out, man, because you've been doing the work, man. And a lot of times it's not being observed, not being acknowledged for some of the work that you do. You have been in the community for years, and you have been a proponent for our people. So we definitely want to encourage you to keep doing the work that you're doing, especially putting your neck and your foot down on this nonsense with FBA and really waking the people up and letting them know, you know, what is really going on behind the scenes, and you know what African consciousness and African manhood looks like. So we want to shout you out on that as well, good brother.
I appreciate that, dear brother. I take it to heart, and I appreciate your time today. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Time is valuable, but I did want to bring. I always want to bring alternative examples to their weak. Yeah, I said weak, anecdotal, divisive tactics. I mean, I don't have to go and show you data. I showed the data. I showed the data that at large, Caribbean and even African quote migrants show strong solidarity with those who are called African Americans here. In fact, this is science. They also show that through time, they evolved to understand racism more because it's different from where they came from.
Yeah.
But it shows that the solidarity level is cyclical in all different directions. But even more so, that Caribbean, quote unquote, migrants actually show higher levels of solidarity towards this direction, meaning those Black and African people in America. I'm not saying that it's so much greater, but it is greater,
right? Because
overall we all show stronger levels of solidarity. There's always differences we can fight about, whether or not we're from the islands or we're from Baltimore, or somebody from East Baltimore, West Baltimore.
Right.
I don't understand why the logic be failing us, because we want it to fail us.
Absolutely.
We've been set up, as you said, so eloquently and so articulately today, and just to remind us that this is not by our own design. If you really want to be empowered, design your own shiznick. You said that Dr. Asa G. Hill spoke about game theory. Whose system are we operating in?
Absolutely not sure.
From an African-centered perspective, it's essential that we design, we define, we name for ourselves, we create, we do all the things. And sometimes people take that lightly, but that is a very political position. So again, I appreciate you coming out today. I appreciate you being open, honest, and even having to correct some things. You know what I mean? Because this mic ain't a place where, you know, for me, you know, it's a risky place. And I appreciate you acknowledging that, and because it is risky, you know, and everybody's not happy about it.
Right.
But, you know, somebody's got to do it. And I appreciate you being a
Ashe.
co-warrior with
Ashe.
me in this struggle.
Ashe.
All right, family, make sure y'all like it up, share it up, send it out. We apologize for the technical difficulties a little earlier today. We thank you for sticking there with us. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and that you also hype this video up so they can get in the algorithm. Family, I think I might be back. I might be back Thursday. I might be back there. What's tomorrow's Thursday?
Tomorrow Thursday.
Oh man, I might do something tomorrow. I might holler at y'all tomorrow. I know me and my cousin will be doing something over the weekend. But anyway, family, until next time, peace and power.
When you claim your Africanness, you're going to get your
If a
mind back.
generalized black woman is doing this and being this, that is that is irresponsible.
No,
Coming with
When
his
you
master's
claim your
degree,
Africanness, you're going to get your
you know,
mind
showing
back.
me, you know,
Black and I'm proud. Claim your
I agree,
Africanness. Black
because
and I'm
I
proud.
think
I'm telling
that
you.
if
When
as
you claim your
a
Africanness, you're going to
person
get your
who
mind
has
back.
a page,
what
I
is the
can
status of people
Claim your
who have
Africanness. Black and I'm
FBA?
proud. I'm telling you. When you claim your Africanness, you're going to get your mind back.
That's why I was laughing because
Black and I'm
I am
proud. Claim your Africanness. Black
I'm
and I'm
not saying
proud.
the
I'm telling
framework
you.
doesn't do a thing, but
Become a part of it.
we've been
Embrace it.
Forward to black men
Become a
being the
part of it.
masters, being
Embrace
in
it.
control. We must
Become a
have
part
our
of
own.
it.
It's only
Embrace it.
That those one of the
Become a
best
part
stories I've
of
ever
it.
heard.
Embrace it. When you claim
Out
your
of
Africanness, you're going
mastery
to get your mind
that
back.
mental growth takes
Black
place.
and
It's
proud.
been
Claim
misled
your
by
Africanness.
leadership,
Black
for
and
instance,
proud.
that
I'm
think
telling
we
you.
can consume.
When you claim your Africanness, you're going to get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Claim your Africanness. Black and I'm proud. I'm telling you.